Humberto Hernandez, American Profit Consulting. Good evening. Day 4 of the craziest week probably in my career that I've seen, just with everything that's going on. But we're here weathering the storm just like everybody else. Of course, we got to push through and we'll come out the other side stronger. But wanted to jump on here again one more time tonight and give you an update on what's going on with, especially in regards to the SBA disaster relief money. I've been talking to everybody and anybody today, processed a couple of applications myself on behalf for a couple of clients of mine, and have a really good understanding of it now. I got a 62-page document that outlines in great detail what's going on. It says here, eligible entities may qualify for loans up to $2 million. Interest rates for the disaster are 3.75% for small businesses and 2.75% for nonprofit organizations with terms up to 30 years. I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously it's 62 pages, but eligibility for these working capital loans are based on the size, must be a small business, and type of business and its financial resources. How can I use the funds? These working capital loans may be used to pay fixed debt, payroll accounts, accounts payable, and other bills that could have been paid had the disaster not occurred. The loans are not intended to replace lost sales or profits or for expansion. That's an important point. Economic injury disaster loans over $25,000 require collateral. SBA takes real estate as collateral when it's available. SBA will not decline a loan for lack of collateral, but requires borrowers to pledge what is available. Another interesting couple of points here. The SBA funds come directly from the U.S. Treasury. Applicants do not have to go through a bank to apply. There is no cost to apply. There's no obligation to take the loan if offered. The maximum unsecured loan amount is $25,000. Applicants can have an existing SBA disaster loan and still qualify for a new disaster loan, but loans cannot be consolidated into from 2 to 1. Talks about all the documentation. Ineligible entities, this is important. Agricultural enterprises, not eligible. Religious organizations, not eligible. Charitable organizations, not eligible. Gambling concerns, it says example, concerns that derive more than 1/3 of their annual gross revenue from legal gambling activities. For example, there's a restaurant here in downtown San Diego, can't remember the name now, but they have satellite wagering for horse racing. I would assume that it's their total annual gross revenue is less than 1/3, so they may or may not qualify, of course, depending. Casinos and racetracks, ineligible. Super interesting as things develop and kind of evolve and change. But we did have a couple of clients call me and say, hey, can you help me fill this out? And I said, of course, I'm happy to help. And so I have completed 2 applications today, and I can tell you it's not as easy. It's not, at the very bottom it says 3-step application. It's more like 25 steps. But it is interesting from the perspective that, typically as a banker and a loan broker now, consultant, when you package these loans, you're packaging them all in paper. And here it's very electronic. Even the personal financial statement is electronic, and they take it in a very interesting way. But yep, I went, a very good friend of mine called me. He goes, please help me. And so I went all the way back to the beginning. He goes, I'm like 70% done. Went all the way back to the beginning. Sure enough, found a handful of errors. And I say this with all respect, right? But when you spend 14 years in banking and 2.5 years as a consultant loan broker, you get really good at knowing what the banks want to see, what they want to hear, how applications should be filled out, how things should be packaged correctly. And I understand, obviously, as a business owner, he goes, this is the very first time I've ever had to do something like this on my own. I usually have the banker help me. Well, with this SBA disaster relief loan, you go straight to the SBA. There are no bankers to help you. There's nobody there to help you kind of fill it out. And so he was very happy that I agreed to help him. He goes, I'll pay you to do it. And, it's just kind of obviously, even us as a company, we're kind of evolving day by day. And so this is a service we send on a MailChimp. If you're listening to this, you may have gotten a MailChimp email from us that it's a service that we will be happy to assist with. Obviously, as a business owner, I have to take care of my overhead, and so there's a small fee involved, but it's pretty nominal in comparison to, what a typical loan would cost somebody. The other part is that I had a great conversation. The other thing I wanted to talk about is I had a great conversation this morning with a very good friend of mine. His name is Ty Robinson, and Ty is probably he's one of my good friends for sure. One of my favorite clients. He has stuck with me ever since I was working at Chase as a banker. And when I started my own business, he was very encouraging and wanted to help any way that he could. So he actually is now a client of mine on merchant card services. And he said, hey, he goes, do you think that Clover is the system that he goes through? Do you think that they will allow me to temporarily suspend my service, being that I'm sitting on the couch at home, I can't really do anything until business starts picking up again? And I said, yeah, I could imagine that for sure. I know that I have had clients do that in the past. And so I thought, man, that's a great point. I wrote it down in my notes. I said, I'm going to share that with everybody on the next video that I record. So I stressed this point yesterday in yesterday's video, please, during this time, especially if your business is shut down and you're not working your business day to day and you have some free time, go through your financials, go through your profit and loss, and look for ways to reduce your costs. I know that when business is good and you're out running and gunning and making a bunch of money, sometimes you don't have time to do that. And the trade-off is, well, I'm super busy, I'm making a bunch of money, and so I don't have time to do it. And so you kind of put that off and you ignore it. And now would be a good time to visit that and take a look to see what you can do in terms of lowering your overhead. I know that we have a service where it's kind of like a financial tune-up, where we go through and we on your behalf will see what we can do to lower your overhead in regards to insurance, credit card processing, payroll, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of times we've been able to save our clients, well over $10,000 a year just by going in there and doing this financial tune-up, of course. For example, with the client that I mentioned, we saved him over $14,000 a year just in credit card processing or merchant card processing. So that's a big deal. The other part is that this SBA disaster relief loan, they do require, it doesn't say that there's a minimum credit score, but it does say that they require a credit profile acceptable to the SBA. And so we don't really know what that looks like yet. I don't know if there's a minimum credit score or not, or if they want to see, perhaps a credit score with a thick file, or a credit report with a thick file, I should say, meaning that there are multiple accounts. And so something that a lot of people don't know, and I'll share this really quick, is that an individual who has been around, maybe 45, 50 years old, who has 20 to 22 years of credit history and has a thick file, meaning that they have multiple accounts. They've had a mortgage perhaps, and they have multiple credit cards, and they have multiple both term and revolving debts on their profile, but maybe has a 680. A lot of times that credit profile will be more appealing to a lender than a 20-year-old who has maybe 2 or 3 credit cards on their profile or their credit report, but they have a 750, right? That 680 might hold more weight with a lender because of the history and because of the amount of accounts on the profile or on the credit report than the 750, because it's what's considered a thin file. So something to take into consideration. And again, I can't stress this enough. I talked about this yesterday. One of the other things that I would highly, highly encourage you to do while you're, maybe out of the workplace is to open up your Experian credit report. Go to Experian.com. Don't go through Credit Karma or these others. It's always best to go through the source, the main source. So don't use a third party. I would encourage you to go to Experian.com. I think it's free, or you pay $1, and go through and see what is incorrect on your credit report. A lot of times, just by disputing things that are incorrect, it'll boost your score up tremendously. Also, take advantage of the Experian Boost. It's free. You basically log into your bank account through Experian, and Experian will give you credit for your utility payments that you've made over the last 2 or 3 months, which is crazy. Just by paying your water and your SDG&E or PG&E or whatever the case is, it boosts your credit score instantly. So again, I've talked about this with just about every client that I've spoken to today that it's better to be prepared than to get prepared. And the reason I say that is because I'm working a lot with clients on increasing their score. I'm using a product that I'm a huge fan of, and we're doing full-on credit repair to get them ready so that they can apply for these disaster relief loans and look stellar. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is one of the applications that I submitted for a client was application number 105,584, 105,584, which means that he started this 2 days ago, which means that 2 days ago, he was applicant number 105,584 or something like that. So today, I would assume if we start a new application, I can't imagine that. I mean, I guess I should say I wouldn't be shocked if they run out of this disaster relief money quickly, because just the sheer amount of applicants. So let's just run some quick numbers real quick. This might be wild, but let's do 105,000 applicants multiplied by $20,000 that they apply for. And of course, not all of them are going to get approved and get it, but that is a really large number. That's $21 million. Did I get that right? $210 million, I think. My calculator doesn't do this. I wish it would. It's a large number. Anyway, I maybe shot myself in the foot there. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I think it's $2 billion. $2 billion of the 50. So that's 4% of the dollar amount that was set aside for the SBA and Trump's new stimulus package. So lots to think about. Every day it's changing. Everybody's doing something different. I've talked to a lot of different bankers, and everybody seems to have a different game plan since Sunday's rate cut to zero, and all the news that's coming down from the SBA disaster relief to the other disaster relief loans that are being put together at the moment. And so we're staying vigilant. I'm here. It's 8:10, and I'm still in the office. I've been here since 8 o'clock this morning, so it's a 12-hour day for me. But I'm here, and this is what we do. We help business owners take on this new era of business lending and this new economy, and we navigate the entire thing for you. So please reach out if you'd like some assistance. My personal cell phone number, you can text or call me, is 619-200-0351. The office line is 619-836-0267. You can email me at info@americanprofitconsulting.com and visit our office if you like. We're in Imperial Beach, California. Send us a message. Happy to have you here and happy to help. Please let us know how we can help.